Welcome in, everyone, to our Cracked Rackets live pregame show for the 2021 French Open men's singles final. Alex Gruskin, so excited to talk all of you through the final day of this year's second Grand Slam. And joining me to recap yesterday's women's final, break down today's men's final, a man you will be very familiar with if you are a Cracked Rackets listener. You may know him as the host of the Monday Match Analysis Show, host of Three, a tennis show. I know him as my eyebrow nemesis, Gil Gross. Gil, welcome back to our Cracked Rackets platform. How you doing, my friend?
I'm great. It's a little strange talking to you this early. You're more of an 11 p.m. friend, but it's still good. I'm very excited. And man, 30 minutes until the final.
Since I took this job full time at Cracked Rackets, I can list on both hands the amount of times I've gotten up before 9 a.m. It's not a high list, and it's something I'm very proud of. Normally it involves us on a broadcast or some sort of national indoor event or a Grand Slam final like we have today. And obviously the big match of the day, everyone will be watching. Novak Djokovic looking to capture his second French Open of his career, 19th Grand Slam overall, taking on a first-time Slam finalist in Stefanos Tsitsipas. Now, let's start today's pregame show with just a discussion of how these two players got here. And let's start with Novak Djokovic. You look at the number one player in the world, obviously the big result for him. He knocks off Rafael Nadal, becomes the first player in ATP history to have beaten Nadal twice at Roland Garros. You look at that result for him. It was a 4-set victory, 3-6, 6-3, 7-6, 6-2, that I'm going to say featured peak Novak Djokovic, Gil, and I think that's the place we have to start. If Novak shows that level today, we don't need to watch. You can just pencil in a straight set win for him, right? I thought he was that good.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And it was one of the great performances of his career. I think it'll finish in the top 5 in terms of Djokovic matches that you can say he was just absolutely stunning. And I don't even think you would count like the 2015 win at the French over Nadal in that on that list. So I don't think it's just the fact that he beat Nadal. It is literally how well he played and just executed this game plan that I think a lot of people have had against Nadal, and just no one's been able to do it. You know, things like, oh, get the return to the backhand. It's like, okay, I'll try my best, but I'm probably going to fail at that. Novak he got it. You know, he was able to do it, and then baseline patterns as well were just spot on.
Yeah, there's been a precision and a drive to Novak that, to be honest, I haven't seen, I would say, since maybe that 2018 season, after such a disappointing 2017 when he bounced back and, again, put together one of his vintage years. You look for Djokovic, straight set wins through his first 3 matches. They were wins over Sandgren, Cuevas, and Berankis. The 4th round match versus Musetti was tricky in that Djokovic served really well. The serve and the +1 ball were locked in. And I think that precision translated into the Berrettini match as well. And you look between those 2 matches, I think he was broken, like 1 time in his entirety during the course of those 2 matches. And you could just tell watching him in those round of 16 and quarterfinal matches that he was working for that Nadal match, that he was focused on being so precise with the +1 ball, obviously when possible, attacking both the forehand wings of Berrettini and Musetti, knowing that's the ball he's going to have to hit against Rafa, but also keeping them honest and playing to the ad wing as well. And that was something I thought he did particularly well against Rafa's, playing to both wings. And of course, the thing he's able to do that no other player in tennis history is able to do is hang with Rafa physically over the course of 5 sets. And I think that is the thing to note heading into today's final. If he is as locked in physically as he was in that match, then as we've learned in tennis history, there's nothing anyone can do, let alone Stefanos Tsitsipas playing in his first slam. So to me, that's the big takeaway is he going to be able to replicate that physically? Because the tennis has been within the margins in every performance, but physically he took that Nadal match to another level.
He looked fresh in the 4th set, Grusky. I don't know if you thought so as well. He looked like a daisy out there. So some people wondering if he's going to be able to recover and kind of get up for this match. I think, there's some emotional challenges because it really did feel like kind of like the final, and now he's got to play another match. And he can't let himself feel like that. But I think he knows that. This is his 29th major final. That is a ridiculous number. He's almost at Federer's 31. And he'll probably be passing that and becoming the player who's played the most major finals in history. I just think he gets it physically and mentally, and we're going to see a decent, a good version of Djokovic. I don't know if we're going to see the version of Djokovic that took down Nadal, just because I think that's in the upper, 95% of how well he can play. But he shouldn't have to need that. Although I think, I do give Stefanos Tsitsipas a lot of respect in this matchup.
Yeah, no, there's something to finishing the job, though. And I think that's the scary part if you're the Tsitsipas camp. And you got to wonder if Stefanos sitting there, and by the way, you say fresh as a daisy. I feel like Djokovic is more like a CBD oil. Like he's just something unnatural, something just weird. And you're like, he's not a daisy.
Fresh as a gluten-free.
Yeah, cracker. Exactly. Fresh as a gluten-free communion cracker. But no, I think when you look for Novak Djokovic, again, you're right. Like if he's probably not going to, you have to play the peak of your performance if you're going to beat Rafael Nadal in 3 sets of clay court tennis. And what was so impressive, again, for him to lose the first 2 games the way he did even, and go down that 4-love deficit or 5-love deficit and roar back in that first set, you could kind of feel, okay, he's coming. And you look for Novak again, overall, just to put a bow on his side of the equation, 49-8 in his last 52 weeks. You look for him, obviously finals of his last 3 slams now in his career. And he's the only guy who this applies to, by the way. He's won 83% of his career ATP level matches, 84% on hard courts. You think, oh, okay, there's a drop off for Djokovic on hard courts to clay, right? Well, he drops from 84 to 80%, Gil. And yes, the numbers do drop off a little bit. 4% drop in first serve effectiveness, 2% drop in second serve effectiveness, 5% drop in hold percentage overall. But the break percentage actually jumps 3.7% to 35.7%, which, by the way, would be the best in history, not particularly close. And he still wins 54% of his total points. Like, I do think this Novak Djokovic on clay, we saw the movement, we saw the effectiveness of his first strike. He looks as good on a clay court as he ever has.
Yeah, I didn't think so for a while recently. Mm-hmm. And I thought the forehand just wasn't really doing enough damage, which is just, it's so important on a clay court that your forehand is a weapon and you're getting through the court, you're penetrating through, some of the best movers and court coverers in the world. I didn't think he was really doing that. And the Musetti match, his forehand was really bad in the first 2 sets. And then since then, the forehand's been great. Against Nadal, it really looked like, I think if you watch like the 2020 final versus that 2021 semi between those guys, one of the biggest differences you'll see is just like how much racket speed he has on the forehand and how much RPM he's getting on the ball as a result. And he's developed that, or I don't know if he's developed it, but he's began to utilize that like clay court heavy topspin forehand, which you need. Like you can't just flatten the ball out and expect that you're going to get the same results that you're going to get in Australia. You got to hit a different kind of forehand. And I think he's hitting that forehand right now. It's been so good for him. And you mentioned the first strike tennis. First serve's been good, so good all year. Like just from start to finish, it's been so good this year. And there's a lot working for him in that respect. If he's going to serve that well, hit big forehands and neutralize every return, you're looking at a monster.
Yeah, it's a guy who breaks the numbers. It's a joke. And, again, it gets back to his movement as well. His aggressiveness with his footwork to hit the inside out forehand against Nadal as well and go forehand to forehand, add corner to add corner. That's vintage Novak Djokovic. That's Novak Djokovic who's not worried about his, physically leaving it all out on the court. He's not worried about, do I have to save some in the tank because I'm nursing this injury? No, this is a Novak Djokovic locked in. And as you mentioned, 29th Grand Slam final,
29th.
Yeah, it's 29th now. He's played 28 already.
Yeah.
It's a joke. Like it's
That's
silly.
The biggest mismatch in my opinion. Do you agree? Mm-hmm. The biggest mismatch in this match is totally just mental and the ability to handle the moment. I don't think Tsitsipas, I don't I don't think this should be like offensive if you're a Tsitsipas fan at all. I don't think it's a knock. This is normal. When you're in your first major final against a guy who's been in 29, that's a mismatch right there, mentally. And some players are weird and they're immune to that kind of moment. Stan Wawrinka handled all of his major finals very, very well, for example. So there are exceptions. I just don't really see Tsitsipas as that guy who can be the exception from a mental standpoint. I think the moment is going to be hard for him, but I also think he has the tennis to stay right with Novak. And that's why I'm thinking this is going to be a good match, but I think the biggest mismatch on paper is just the ability to handle those pressure moments.
And Apostolos Tsitsipas and Coach Mortalou are like, yes, but it's only his 6th French Open final. So it's like he really hasn't played here that much. No, I mean, is there an opportunity for a letdown for Novak Djokovic? I feel like he has come out locked in at the start of his last 3, honestly, all 6 matches he's played here in Paris in a way that sometimes he's not. Sometimes it takes him a second to put his foot on the gas and really run away with matches. And I mean, again, he lost those first 5 games, but he should have won the first 2 games in that. Like, he was the better player in all 4 sets, in my opinion, against Nadal. But again, that's the other side of the equation. Let's look at the guy who's going to try and upset him today in Stefanos Tsitsipas, number 5 seed, playing in his first Grand Slam. And let's be honest, it's a Grand Slam he's earned. You look at the course since the pandemic resumed, he has now made the quarterfinals and better in 13 of his 18 events. You look for him overall. He's won 55 of his last 72 matches. That's a 76 win percentage. He's currently, if you look at 2021 stats, only one of 6 players to be top 15 in both hold percentage and break percentage. Those 6 guys, by the way, make a lot of sense when you hear the names Djokovic, Nadal, Medvedev, Zverev, Rublev, and the best player in the world in Karatsev. I think we can all agree. But you look, Stefanos Tsitsipas, so I guess it's 7. He belongs in that group as well. You look at his wins to get here. He has earned this spot. There is no denying it. Wins over Chardy, Pedro Martinez, then seeded wins over Isner, Carreno Busta, Medvedev, and Zverev in 5 sets. The thing about that semifinal that I think stands out coming into today's match and the difference between the 2 players, Novak Djokovic just played his best match. I don't think Stefanos Tsitsipas has played his best match yet in this tournament, Gil. And I think that is where you start today's conversation in the course of an upset, is if Tsitsipas just has one of those days when his forehand is clicking, because when he does, he can beat anyone.
I think it's almost good. I think that's kind of what you're getting at, but like he's felt very big 3-ish in the sense where he's not ever like needing to redline his game to pick up these wins, at least on this surface. The PCB match, the Isner match, where that got tricky and he was playing a dangerous version of John Isner, which is his kryptonite, that big server that's going to challenge his return. And he gets through that pretty solidly after saving a very clutch break point in the second set. And I don't feel like he's had an easy match, in terms of his draw. I don't think there's been a single one where it's like, Tsitsipas gets a break this round. Like, this is an opponent that isn't really threatening for the stage that he's in. And the fact that he's just been focused every single time he's taken the court. And it's been pretty comfortable. And then against Zverev, you're right. I think it was far from his best tennis. I think a lot of that was just the pressure on both men. It was very human. There was so much on the line there. And now he gets to play an underdog role against Djokovic, which is going to be a little bit easier for him, I think, mentally. And I know I just said the opposite about the moment and how difficult it'll be, but I think the same was true for the semifinal. And there was a different kind of pressure, maybe even more pressure.
No, one of our sayings here at Crack Rackets, 2 things can be true. Absolutely. The fact that it's his first Grand Slam final matters, and he's going to feel those pressures. At the same time, there's also a little bit of a nothing to lose when you're playing a Novak Djokovic or a Rafael Nadal, particularly at this stage. And look, again, Tsitsipas lost 3 times in the 2021 clay court season. It was to Rafa in the Barcelona final. It was to Casper Ruud in Madrid, and it was to Djokovic. And those losses to Djokovic and Nadal were both 3-set losses. And you just look at that fact, he'll have a belief to him. And this is something we talked about since the beginning when we had our contenders conversation. There is a gumption to Stefanos Tsitsipas that a lot of these next geners don't have. And that he's going to swing. And because we're live, I'm not going to swear, but there's an effort attitude to Stefanos Tsitsipas. And then it's like, look, if I hit my forehand big, if I hit my serve big, I'm going to win the match. Now, what was so interesting in that Zverev match, you're up above 40 in the first game of the fifth set, Zverev. How many times have we seen him lose that game now in his career? The answer is too many times. But B, Tsitsipas kind of identified the fact, oh, wait, all I have to do is push backhands into just push balls into the, outer thirds or push balls deep into the court, and he's not going to try and rip a winner on me, and I can just physically grind him down. And I don't think we would have seen that from Tsitsipas, that gear, even as recently as the start of 2020. I mean, there's a point where he played like 4 slices in a row on the backhand side, and he lost them, or he lost the point, but he doesn't do that. And it was really interesting to see that gear. And I think that's the sort of tennis he's going to have to play today at points where it gets a little nasty, gets a little grimy, because Zverev Djokovic just does a really good Zverev impression. And I think that match, I think there is a pathway where if Tsitsipas just kind of swings freely on his serve and then is willing to grind a little bit, wait for those opportunities. Again, it depends which Novak shows up, but he's played a high enough level to get there.
Yeah, I think Tsitsipas has matured to the point where he realizes that, regardless of the fact that this is the highest level of men's tennis, we're talking about tons of firepower on most of the serves and the forehands. It's also you can't miss. You better not miss. And I think he now understands his limits and his shot selection and what it means to just play high margin, high percentage offensive tennis. I think he needs to move forward a lot in this matchup. Otherwise, Novak's defense is probably going to give him trouble. I think Djokovic is going to get it onto Tsitsipas's backhand side a ton, just like he did to Rafa. He's so precise. He's so good at executing that. And it's, how is the Greek going to handle it? Is he going to be able to stay patient and, trade cross court and wait until he gets a forehand? Or is he going to be able to come up with the variety on his backhand side that is going to, easier produce and generate some offense and some short balls to set up the forehand? It'll be very interesting to see. And also, is his serve big enough that against a returner as good as Novak, as great as there's ever been, is he going to get those forehands he needs on a regular enough basis to start the point with them and to do damage right off the bat?
Well, we saw the way Djokovic was able to lock in and just pinpoint every return to the Rafael Nadal backhand, or at a minimum, get that ball at his feet. There's no doubt he's going to have the ability to do that against Stefanos Tsitsipas. Now, I would argue the Tsitsipas first serve at this point in particular is bigger than Rafa's, even on these clay courts, just the way it rips through the court, the way it's more effective. But you saw the way Djokovic returned against Berrettini. And yes, Berrettini was holding serve. Djokovic had a lot of chances in the Berrettini service games. And if he can return like that again, that's the worry, is Djokovic has seen a little bit of every game style. There's only one Novak Djokovic, and as good a proximity as Daniil Medvedev or Zverev does at times, it's a whole new monster.
Yeah, and the second serve is key too. You need to mix that up. If you're just going to hit a kick serve to Novak's backhand on every second serve,
he's not Alex Zverev. Yeah, it's not going to work.
Yeah. Right. It's such a bad plan. You must hit to the forehand as well. You have to. So I'm curious. Nadal didn't do that. And Nadal, every second serve was to the backhand, and it was the same exact serve. Excuse me. Novak's too good for that. I mean, so that's another thing that I'm
just thinking of the Rafa, just the lefty slice in. It's yeah, you're right. That slice is going down the tee and out wide. Where it's happening. But no, it's, for Tsitsipas, again, the numbers speak for themselves. We mentioned them a bunch on our Cracked Rackets podcast. His hold percentage stays relatively similar when transitioning between hard courts and clay courts. 86.6 on hard, 84.5 on clay. Those are still top 5 elite of the elite numbers. The big numbers, his break percentage. It goes from 18.6 on hard courts to 27.8 on clay. That's from going from 41st in the ATP top 50 to 14th. That's a completely different player. And for someone to still serve at a top 5 level, regardless of surface, but have those return numbers jump up, that puts you in the elite category. And I think my question is, has Djokovic been serving well enough that Tsitsipas isn't going to have those opportunities to run around the ball, hit that first forehand as a return? Because when he's been able to do that, he's been able to take control of points and break opponents despite, the height advantage, the big serves of Zverev and Medvedev. It's interesting. I agree. Like the second serve, he's going to have to be aggressive with, but he's also going to have to be aggressive with his return, Gil. He's just going to have to be aggressive.
Oh yeah, Novak's second serve has been slow,
attackable,
slow. But a lot of guys have just been like not pass. I mean, I haven't really seen anyone look to actually, hit punishing returns.
Mussetti's the one.
Okay. I almost feel like that's something that the women just do way better than the men. Like on second serve returns, it's just like, okay, let's use this and do damage. And I understand the second serves are a little bigger on the men's side, but sometimes I wonder, like, why are there not more Jan Lennard Struffs? Like, go after the second serve return. Anyway, I think it's a weird tangent. I think Tsitsipas.
No, it gives me an excuse to bring up Sabalenka. If you hit her a second serve, the point is over. It's just, is she making or missing the return?
Yeah, so I'm surprised that there's not more of that. Novak's hitting his second serves. I know he averaged, I think, 82 miles per hour against Nadal.
I can do that.
Yeah, and you can do that. If you didn't, that's your flat serve, but we won't talk about that. If you didn't check that on Infosys, then I don't know that you would have known, because I don't think Nadal was, being particularly assertive off that return. I think Tsitsipas needs to.
Yeah, Nadal's also at the back fence. Tsitsipas will not be. Tsitsipas will be taking a more aggressive position. I think he'll look to get in the court. And I do wonder for him physically, how is he going to hold up after playing that 5-set match? Because even if it wasn't the physical side, I should say how he holds up mentally, because that was a draining match to be up 2-0, to see that deficit erased, and then, to flip the script and play just a momentum, adrenaline-filled 5th set. How do you respond to that fact? I also was wondering, last thoughts here, as Tsitsipas is watching Djokovic and Nadal, that match unfold. Is he happy? Is he like, yeah, give me more tennis? 4 hours? Yes. Hit the 5-hour mark. Like, keep going. Or is he thinking to himself, oh my God, I have to beat one of these guys. Like, I am so effed. It is just like, he's like, Dad, like, I'm not winning. Can we agree, right?
Yeah, I think it's it's an if he watched that match, I think that's intimidating. I just think that's the level that they got to. And, Steph's on social media. You have Andy Murray tweeting, this is the greatest match of all time. You have Andy Roddick saying, this is one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. I don't even agree with these people. Like, I think that they were, I think their appreciation for Rafa and Novak kind of put them in that place where they were making those claims, and I don't really think they're true. But nonetheless,
I think I saw Maria Sakkari tweet out, man, these two are way better than any other player in the men's draw. Yeah, she did. No.
Yeah, okay. That would have been something. Okay. Emotionally, I agree. As Tsitsipas said, he suffered some emotional periods of emotional breakdowns in the semifinal. So that is a challenge. I think we did hit on just mentally how challenging this will be for Tsitsipas compared to Djokovic, who also, he has a challenge in itself, kind of getting up for this one after such an incredible win in the semifinal. But that's a challenge, and mentally, you have to give some intangible edge to Djokovic in this match.
No doubt about that. And we've talked about the tactics. We've talked about the mental edges. I will say, just quick tangent, how fun would it have been to have just the battle of the villains in Zverev and Djokovic in this final? I feel like we missed out on a chance for everyone to be like, man, I'm hate watching this match, like just that on principle. But no, I feel like it's a really fun storyline. And again, you look for Stefanos Tsitsipas when you're winning 76% of your matches, when you've reached now semifinals or later at the Grand Slams in your last 3 slam events, when you've won your first Masters event, you're ready to make a slam final finals. So there's no doubt he belongs here. Now, again, I believe for Djokovic, he's got the chance to join Laver and Emerson, I want to say, as the only 3 players on the men's side to have won each men's singles slam twice. So that is, and of course, he got the break of serve, by the way. This is his chance to get 19 before Rafa or Federer can get 21. And, you look at the long-term thinking, he's also got the chance of perhaps a golden slam this year, winning all 4 in the same calendar year. All of these things are at play. With that in mind, who you got? Give me a score line.
Oh, I forgot that you asked for the exact scores. It's very demanding. I like it. That's how it should be.
No, I was gonna say you give me sets as well, but look, high standards here.
Yeah,
I don't give you a green screen background like this for nothing.
So give me. I think Tsitsipas wins let's say he wins the first set.
So the over-under, I think, is 39.5, which implies that they think it's going to go 4 sets as well.
Yeah, I have it going for. I'd be more surprised. That's tough. I'm probably more surprised if it goes 3 than if it goes 5. I think I could see it go 5 before. But yeah, I kind of like Tsitsipas to keep this close. I just don't like him to win it. Like, I just don't like him to cross the finish line. But I think that the Greek has a good chance to play on Novak's level for large portions of this match. So 4 sets. Let's go with Stefanos wins the first 6-4. And then from there, in favor of Djokovic, 6-3, 7-6, 6-3.
I like it. And just so you want to play a final, what the odds move to, guess what the line is. Final line.
What is the final line?
Do you want me to tell you? Or you want to guess it?
Oh, I'm guessing it. Novak
high
is minus.
Here.
It's tough. I don't know if it went up or down. Novak, I'm gonna say is down to minus 315.
So I guessed on the Mini Break podcast minus 275. At the time, it was minus 250. It moved up, as you mentioned, to minus 340 last night. And I was thinking, should I do a Djokovic Felix Nets parlay? And I was like, nah, I'll just watch the match and enjoy it. Djokovic now down to minus 278. So a late Tsitsipas push, late money going on the Greek player. That's interesting to me because if it goes 5 sets, I'm honestly leaning Tsitsipas. Like, I just think at that point, it helps to be 22, not 34. It helps to have not played Rafael Nadal the day before. That said, I think Djokovic wins in straights. Like, I just think he's going to hit that zone and close the match out and just finish the job and be like, last time I was here, I lost to Stan. I shouldn't have. At this point, I don't lose matches. I shouldn't at this stage. I'm winning this. And I just think we had Djokovic hit that gear. I think if Tsitsipas keeps it close, it's really like I watched Djokovic play really bad tie breaks against Musetti and Berrettini. Yeah. I don't want to play Stefanos Tsitsipas in a tiebreak set. If I am Novak Djokovic, I'm trying to win this 3-3-3. And I think he's got that gear in him.
That's a good point. I could see Djokovic winning in 5 sets because he's just not a normal 34-year-old.
That's true.
But I completely get that angle. And I think the line has corrected itself just rightly so, because it was just ridiculous. When you they've played 2 matches in these conditions, right? Rome and Roland Garros, right? Two years in a row. And it's just been like a toss-up match. So, I get it. It's a major final. Novak's playing a great level, but really, like, minus 340 when the last 2 matches have gone the way that they were, it didn't make much sense. Now I think the line's where it should be. So if you didn't take advantage, oh well.
Exactly. That's what live betting is for. But of course, again, the predictions, Gil has Djokovic in 4 sets. I've got Djokovic in 3 sets. Final thoughts, because I did say we'd touch on it. Barbara Krejcikova, first woman since Mary Pierce in 2000 to capture both the singles and the doubles title. Yesterday in singles, it was a 6-1, 2-6, 6-4 victory for her over Pavlyuchenkova. Today, her and her partner, Katerina Siniakova, knock off Bethany Maddox-Sands, Iga Swiatek. Here's what I want to frame the conversation around, because it would be disingenuous to talk about the match in 3 minutes. But with these accomplishments now, multi-time doubles slam champion, multi-time mixed doubles grand slam champion, captured the singles and the doubles title at the same event in one sitting, and now a singles grand slam champion. Do you book her spot in the Hall of Fame already?
Hall of Fame. I'm not very good at like I don't know that I'm
Me
very
neither. This is where our youthful naivete shows through the most, where it's like, sure, put it like, what do I, David Ferrer,
yeah.
Hall of Fame. And
Hall of Fame, Hall of
people are like,
Fame.
don't do it.
I would say, um, yeah, like I don't know if she's gonna. Okay, in singles, like I loved. She played incredible tennis the whole time. I think the doubles finals that she's been in majors and the championship she's won helped her in that match, which was cool to see. But the strokes are super long, so do they work on quicker surfaces? I would have questions about that, and the sample size is so small that it's like, I think those are fair questions for me to have about her singles game. But on clay, like I look for her to continue with her ball striking and her timing. I look for her to continue doing damage. And, just with this newfound confidence, I don't really expect her to be a flash in the pan. Like I think she really does stick around, and she's a top 30 singles player.
More singles titles when they're slam titles when they're done. Krejcikova, Pliskova are tied.
Krejcikova.
It's a bold choice. Yeah, I mean, I like that you skirted the question. I would say you probably have to put her in the Hall of Fame because total accomplishments, multi-time slam winner, all three levels, mixed, doubles, singles. Even if she's not, I mean, she was number one in the world in doubles. Doesn't look like she's going anywhere else soon. I think she's already locked herself a spot. Like, first of all, who knows the criteria? But like, she has a better case than David Ferrer at this point. I don't think you can deny that.
It's very rude of you to bring up about Ferrer, about in my
I'm not
presence.
happy with it.
Okay, I'm just saying, I'm a Ferrer guy, and you're thinking like, oh, like what example should we use of someone who shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame? And you're just like, how about Ferrer?
That's not
right?
the one I use for the record. That's the one the people of that generation, ones older than us, always use. It's like David Ferrer was very good, but was he that significant to the game? Like, did he win a major? Did he only win the one Masters? And this is where I get angry.
Significant to me. He was significant to me, and that should be enough.
I agree. And it's also, my thinking is, if you can't tell the story of a decade without including that player in it, they're probably in the Hall of Fame. And I don't think you can tell the story of the 2010s without saying David Ferrer's name and explaining like his role. And I don't know if that's the case for Krejcikova yet. In doubles, it might be. And now with this single slam as well, it's like, like there's a 2015 to 2023 range where before Osaka took over and won everything, or like Andreescu, or let's be honest, at this point, Iga Swiatek, and like, or Coco Gauff. And Krejcikova was one of those players who got her window in. And like, we're not there yet, but we're almost there.
I agree with you. I mean, it's going to be hard if she continues this kind of trajectory, it's going to be impossible to not look at her resume and put her in Newport, Rhode Island.
It's exactly where Barbara Krejcikova wants to go. But with that in mind, any final thoughts before we wrap the show?
Yeah, just I'm hoping for a great final. And I think if both of them play their best tennis, we're going to get a heck of a match because Tsitsipas is really, he's close. Like this should be good, fascinating, lots on the line. It's what it's all about.
Final question. Do we get a best of 3 versus best of 5 debate to wrap things up? Do we get a Hawkeye debate on tennis Twitter to wrap things up? Or do we just get like some sort of general beef on like what's the beef? What's the trending topic on tennis Twitter during the match?
Let's go serve clock.
That was a good pivot. Serve clock is actually plus 750. So I'll lock you in on that.
I'm going the long shot. Yep.
Yeah, no, that's the long shot. That's perfect. Well, as always, Gil, it is a pleasure to be joined by you this morning. Again, next time we do this, we'll have both had our coffee or whatever it is that wakes us up. But of course, thank you for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the match. And with that in mind, for the wonderful Gil Gross, for super producer Daniel Westoff on the ones and twos, as always, and for all of us here at Cracked Rackets, I'm your host, Alex Gruskin. We hope you enjoyed the 2021 men's singles final. Novak Djokovic taking on Stefanos Tsitsipas. We'll talk to you all later. Thanks, everyone.